guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do an update to a very popular video I did about 4 months ago, which was called 50-Year-Old Former Bad Boy Shares Just How Idiotic They Can Be When It Comes to Men. And guys, in that very popular video, which I'm sure many of you guys saw, it literally could have been called Confessions of a Former Bad Boy, in which he pretty much detailed a big chunk of his life where he was that guy. That bad boy type that pretty much many of you guys, probably including me, back in the day would have punched him in the face. And he knows it. He was that guy that was hooking up with girls left and right. I'm guessing probably some that were in relationships, maybe even married. I can't really remember. The guy also was very much into, obviously, substances and things like that, and hopped around from different jobs. And but ultimately, one day, got his life together. He really, got past all the alcohol and all those other things like that, the drugs. And now he's doing really well. He's been doing well for a while, career. And also, by the way, during his many adventures, I'll put that word mildly, girl he was with, she got pregnant and had a son. And over the years, he reconnected with his son, and they have a good relationship. And so this update is him talking about with his relationship with his two things. One, with his relationship with his son. His son's now 21 years old in college, and his son is doing well for himself, but his son obviously likes to have fun too. The acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. And his son shares the perspective of how things are nowadays, with how things are in school, how things are in colleges with the young crowd nowadays, how things are with the gals, and how, let's just say, how adventurous they are nowadays. And they tell this guy, because this guy's obviously like the cool dad. He's 50 years old, and his son, he talks to his son, he talks to his son's friends, also son's friends that are girls, so he gets to hear the real perspective of how things are nowadays. So it's very interesting to hear his take on it and how things are in the world, which won't surprise many of you guys. It's unfortunately very sad, but it is what it is. And he also is going to share more about what he's observed throughout his life and how things are today, and just, it's a mess out there. So I think a lot of you guys will find this interesting, hearing from his perspective. So starts off, he says, hey there, big dog. This is Patrick, the 50-year-old bad boy guy who you did a video on. I'm watching your recent video, Man Dumps Fiancé After He Finds Out About Her Very Adventurous College Years. My son is in his 4th year of college and has had a surprising amount of relations with women, both in high school and in college. He's currently 21 years old. I've had a really good relationship with him, and I've spoken very honestly with him ever since he was a young teen, and many of his friends, both boys and girls. That's great, man. You got to be honest with your kids, okay? Why BS them? Why sugarcoat things? Let them know how things are in the world, okay? That's the only way you're going to prepare them for adulthood. And kids know when their parents are BSing them. They're going to respect you a lot more, even if what you tell them is not what they want to hear, or it goes against what they've been, say, brainwashed by society on. At least they know they can trust you to be truthful. That's so important. A lot of parents don't do that. Anyhow, he says here, the girls, even in high school, were honest and very upfront about having sent dozens, sometimes some of the girls, and he says, and these are decent girls on their way to college, admitted to having gone through phases where they sent dozens after dozens of nude photos out to different guys of their friend group. Because why? It was popular. Nothing like the listeners of our age could ever imagine when we were 15 or 16 years old. Hell no. I can't imagine back, me in the early to mid-90s, in my junior high and high school years, a time where you have a device that you can carry around, obviously the phone, and where people could send things and all that and receive it like that, let alone people being dumb enough to send naked pictures of themselves, right? But that is a common thing, and right here, he's admitting it, that the young crowd, they were doing it left and right. It was as common as can be. Stupid. He says, my son tells me that it's not uncommon to meet girls who were freshmen or sophomores in high school and who were very active and experienced and start giving oral by the time they were 12 or 13. Oh my God. I'm not surprised, but he goes, not that one bad girl from school like it was for us, guys who are in their 30s, her 40s and 50s. He says, my son is at UC Santa Barbara and tells me that the DTF nature of girls between the ages of 18 and 22 is alarming even to him. He says he meets middle and upper middle class girls who are having you-know-what at parties with different guys several times a month. This is very common. He tells me about the unbelievable number of girls he knew in middle school and in high school. Some who were a couple years older, some who were a couple years younger, who've reached out to him and asked if he wanted to come over and get down. Like literally, dude, you're looking hella good, and you totally changed since you were in middle school. I'll be back home next weekend. You should come over and we can grind. This, unfortunately, sounds about right for the time period we're in. And again, these are not dropout floozies who are working at local convenience stores. These are girls who are coming back from top 50 colleges to a middle class and upper middle class area in Northern California, and many of whom have boyfriends back at school. Imagine that. That's sad. But this doesn't surprise me. Some people might surprise, or some people may say, oh, this is just an exaggeration. But, you know, guys, I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and I've done countless articles and personal stories and crazy stories I found online. And when you start seeing the same type of thing over and over and over again, it starts to say, you know what, maybe this just is how things are. But a lot of people, when I do videos on here, I got a lot of enemies. They don't like what I talk about. They don't like my opinions. They don't like what I share, and it just because it goes against their beliefs. It goes against their views. And so whenever you talk about things that go against other people's views or their paradigm, whatever you want to call it, of course they're going to lash out at anybody that talks about these things. But right here, he continues, he says, my son admits to having been pretty thoughtless when he was younger and didn't care if these girls had boyfriends or not, and said that it was not uncommon at all for these girls to hook up when their boyfriends weren't around, and this was quite common. Gee, where do you think all this came from? Where do you think the promotion of all this and because what is this? Don't get me wrong. When I was a teenager in high school, people were hooking up too. Let's not BS ourselves here. But to the degree of how things are today, not even close. Okay, let alone with the ability to broadcast your activities and adventures online or a service like Instagram and showing pictures of yourself and all that. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can thank social media for a lot of this going to people's heads, having to constantly broadcast everything about themselves and send things to themselves. And also you can thank the feminist movement for the S-word revolution came from that, and you're not empowered nowadays unless you're out doing such things. Now, does this mean that all gals are doing this? Of course not. But a lot do. And is it any wonder that guys, when they start finding out about these things, they're like, I'm not going to date her. I don't want to be in a relationship with her. Because a lot of scientific studies have shown that for gals with enough dudes, the whole pair bonding thing, they can't do it. When, as bizarre as it may sound, guys can do that and they can connect. Go figure. Anyhow, he says here, he said that I know a lot of guys in their 20s and 30s who feel the same way, having realized the depth to which modern gals in their teens and 20s and 30s literally don't care anymore whether or not they cheat. That it made him hesitant even to have a girlfriend or trust women at all. You can't blame him. And you can't blame a lot of guys nowadays that don't trust the gals either. Right? And again, I'm just like many other channels, because I'm not the only game in town. I talk about these things, and I have guys that say, thank you, SSM. You really opened my eyes to a lot of things. To at least, these are guys who are relationship guys, and at least they know to keep an eye out for the red flags. They're still going to do relationships, but they're keeping their eyes open and are aware of these things that they just didn't know about, Or some guys say, I'm not doing relationships at all anymore, knowing what I know. He says here, and I hear the same thing out of my friends who are 25, 30, 35 years old, and they just don't trust American women and are completely unwilling to get married. There you go. And these are college-educated, graduate school-educated military officers, top-shelf dudes. They are good-hearted, down-to-earth, hard-working men who do not trust women. It is a shame things have devolved to this, but it is what it is. Why would guys get into relationships with gals of these types, as well as in a era where the family courts are against guys? There are occasions when guys will come out on top, but they got to work hard for it and go through a hell of a lot. It's so much easier for the gals. Guys get raked over the coals in the divorce process thanks to how things are. I'm trying to do my part to help out that things can at least bring awareness. But at the end of the day, until guys start really raising hell and changing the laws, it's not going to change. So rather than this being the story, say, when you and I were young, or that bad girl in high school who did all the naughty stuff, it's not unusual for a majority of gals these days to graduate from college at 22, having with 10, 20, 30 different guys since they were in high school. Posted naughty photos on Instagram, making videos, and almost competing with other girls to show off. I tell you guys all the time, and I'll keep saying this till I'm blue in the face, that if you are on Instagram or any type of social media, stop, and you're connected to these pretty girls that you've never even met, or you're acquainted with, and you're liking all their pictures and commenting on them and all that, and DMing them and all that. Stop doing that, because you're just making it worse. You really are. Attention and validation. You're making it worse. Don't do that. You want to follow somebody on Instagram? Follow me. You can like all my pictures, because you're not going to see me butt naked on these pictures. And these girls who are in math and science departments, they are middle and upper class girls whose parents have education, class, money, and are expecting their daughters to become white-collar professionals. And when I sit around with them and chit-chat and talk, it's amazing to hear what comes out of their mouths of these young gals. I gotta tell you, man, if you're hanging out with your son, and you said that like a lot, he has friends, both men and women that he's friends with, and they're sitting around talking to you, I'm sure you're the cool dad. They like talking to you, but I guarantee you, some of those gals probably in the back of their minds, like whatever your son's name, let's just say your son's name is Jack. Like I guarantee you, they're talking to each other, saying, "Ooh, I'd love to hook up with Jack's dad," because they obviously know that you're a former bad boy. They can just sense that about you. I guarantee you, their mind is in the gutter, loving to hook up with you. And don't do it, by the way, for God's sakes. Anyhow, he says, it reminds me of everything that we've talked about on SSM. The greatest sale a woman ever makes is for her somehow to find a guy that she thinks is better than her and convince him to accept her and take her with all of her created and self-imagined flaws, if you know what I mean. She's on some level the biggest con artist in the world. She hid her flaws with makeup, creatively dressed herself, creatively changed her hair and eyes to frame her face differently, has presented herself in a more upbeat and more moral or more whatever, based on what she thinks this guy wants to hear. And most importantly, has not told him all the sort of details of her life, or the real reasons why she's single. Her past cheating and lying, etc. And us guys, not really understanding this, end up marrying women who we don't really know. And we don't find out the truth until 5 years or 10 years into the marriage. Yes, how many times have I done stories about these guys find out about their wife's real past, and they're just blown away. They can't believe it. And they say they wouldn't have gotten involved with her if they'd known. And yeah, talking about the hair and the makeup and all that and the clothes, yeah, there are things guys do too, don't get me wrong, to obviously make themselves look better than they really are. We do both, but with the gals, there really is a lot of things going on. I have a number of friends from my San Francisco workshop days who are professional coaches, like no joke, legit 6-figure coaches who make a couple $100,000 a year, and have been working with men and women and couples, individually and with groups, for the past 15 years. I share my video that you posted with a handful of them, and I asked them to watch some of your videos and tell me what they thought about what you've been presenting as a coach. Well, I'm sure some agree with some of the things I said, and I'm sure some of them hated some of the things I said. But that's how it is. What's extremely interesting to me is that after 15 years or 20 years of working with people, one of the single biggest barriers that they spoke of having is working with people is the almost unbreachable progress of getting women to tell the truth. Now this is, again, make this clear, this is he's talking to these people who are professional coaches, probably in all areas of relationships and all that, and this is what they're saying to him. Interesting that that's what's being said. Most importantly, to get the gals to tell you the truth about their S-word past. I've had several coaches tell me that they are working with couples, and that is surprisingly often that the female confides with him how dishonest and misrepresentative she was or is with her current husband about her past. And when I say her past, I mean her S-word past. I know it's annoying. I got to speak in code here. I don't want to give YouTube any excuse to take me down, so I got to speak in code, guys. It is what it is. I know some people bitch about in the comment section. About the kind of stuff that she did. About cheating on former boyfriends, about going to parties and clubs and hooking up with dudes, and all the kind of things that she did. About having threesomethings and participating in all sorts of S-word exploits that she would have been outraged if her husband suggested or brought up until now. I have heard this from both male and female coaches, that this is one of the most taboo areas when they are working with women. The women believe that they are probably correct in believing so, that their husband would never have accepted them if they had been honest about how they've been so S-word in the past. They're darn right. That's exactly. So that's the justification. Well, I'm going to hide it. Well, maybe this, what you were doing in the past, and to the extreme that what it is today, everything. I mean, nowadays, this generation now that sends the pictures and posts them online, and the OnlyFans and all that, and amongst the unbelievable carousel writing going on in the early years, thanks to the S-word revolution, they're eventually going to be older one day, and they're going to realize that as more and more guys are starting to take the blinders off and realize this is what it is, they're not going to want to get involved with these gals. And they're going to learn the hard way. Okay, there are consequences to one's actions. And let me tell you something, guys. There was a time and place that I was like, yeah, go hook up every girl left and right. And as time has gone on, I got to tell you, my opinion has changed towards that. And it's like, why put yourself in that situation? To potential diseases, getting girls pregnant, all that. I got no problem if you're doing relationships and it's your girlfriend and all that. Okay, that's fine. But if it's just every other night somebody else, I mean, there's a point that, aside from the financial cost of doing all that and amongst many other things, but these things will come back to bite people in the ass. Okay, so but unfortunately, it will just people just get blamed, excuses will be made, and so on and so forth. But you're gonna have a generation that simply guys just gonna be like, nope, no thanks. I don't want that. I don't trust that. Not happening. And we will see how things go. And those types, maybe, because I've done some videos, I've done some stories where some were actually warning the younger girls, don't make the mistake I did. We'll see if we get any more of that down the road. It continues. It says, also in that order, to keep up appearances, they would not engage in the kind of activities and exploits with their current husbands that they've been interested and toyed with within their past. Whether it be all sorts of things I'm not going to mention here. As such, if the husband ever found out that the woman he had been faithful to, working 60 hours a week to support, along with their children, had given all that to other men when she was young, and now, despite everything he's done, she would not go there with him, would probably make the men bitter and angry, and probably cause major relationship problems. How many stories have we done this, guys, where the guys find out that their girl, their fiance, who they're about to marry, their wives of many years, back in the day was as freaky as all hell with plenty of dudes, but now they're together, and she's not interested in any of that. And he's thinking, what the hell? I'm the guy you married. I'm the guy that has been faithful, and you claim that you're deeply in love with, the love of your life, all that. And he's like, what the hell? Right? And so, understandably, it would literally be like if a gal found out that her husband, who is not romantic at all, back in the day, was the Mr. Bring the girls flowers and all the romance and all this stuff is possible, but the wife didn't get the romance. You see what I mean? On a different level, that would piss her off, and that'd be understandable. Just how it pisses the guy off. He's like, wait a second, back in the day you were doing all these things that I've been secretly wanting to do with my wife, love my life, and I can't get any of that? You got to be kidding me. Anyway, he says it's like one of the biggest makeup and cover-up jobs that a gal does is burying her past and presenting a false narrative to the man that she is hoping to be with, pretending and lying to him about her own desires and her own past. It is alarming to think of the millions upon millions of men who are with gals, and there are major flaws and cracks and gaps of separation due to the lies that the gals told entering into the relationship. Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of dudes that lie too. Okay? There are plenty of subjects that men can lie about as well, about their past and maybe financial issues or just a whole number of things. I'm not saying guys don't lie too, because we do. And honestly, if you're going to get serious with someone, we owe it to them to know about our past. I think that's a fair and reasonable thing. But this is a men's channel, and I'm going to point out things that guys should and shouldn't do, in my opinion. But also, I will call guys and their bullshit, don't get me wrong, but we're here talking about the gals, and yeah, a lot is covered up. And these guys have a right to know, in my opinion, before they get serious with her. From the coach's perspective, all these lies end up eroding the relationship. See? And they are one of the leading causes that have had women end up cheating because they're never fully in the relationship in the first place, since they began the relationship with lies about things as fundamental as sex. And because they lied from the beginning, they never felt totally connected in the relationship, and made it easier for them to start cheating, and the man is completely oblivious to this until he finds out about it because he saw some text or a photo on her phone and the whole thing blows up. This sounds exactly like a lot of the stories I've done. Dead on. And again, this doesn't mean that they're all going to do this. I got to make that abundantly clear. Not all women are going to be like the ones I cover in these stories, but a lot are. And sadly, it's the younger ones because look how things are today. To say that it's all, that's crazy. That's not the case. Just like a lot of saying all men do this and all men do that. That's bullshit too. But there are a lot of guys that are low lives. I'm not going to deny that for a second. But this is happening, guys. This is why you got to be careful. It's taken me only recently in my 50 years, and I think with great help from strong, successful male, to truly understand and appreciate the depth to which the entire psychological and social orientation of the gals is to misrepresent who they are and what they are. From their hair to their eyebrows, to the eyelashes to the eyeliner, to the rogue on their cheeks, the foundation and makeup, the pull-up bras, the Spanx, the heels, the makeovers, the implants, the Botox, the changing of the waistline with the creative clothing. The misrepresentation of every aspect of herself to make her look more young and more fertile, more pretty and more pure and more nice and clean. In order to get the guy to choose her, in essence, it is a socially normalized for a woman to lie and essentially commit fraud in the process of landing a man. Now, someone would make the argument, well, guys are all about looks, so we have to do this. We have to do this, blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, we're not going to get the guy. I like a girl that has some makeup, and I want to emphasize some. Okay, I'm not talking like she's looking like a freaking clown. Okay, there's some that just pile on. It's like, ugh. Hey, Mrs. Ronald McDonald there. A little makeup, okay, that's fine. But I remember years ago, I'd watched during like a junior high school, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on. There was this one episode where Will Smith, he was getting with this girl, and I guess they're about to have relations, and she was obviously very duded up. And at some point, she starts taking like the eyelashes off, then the hair extensions off, then the nails off, and then all these other things to show that she looked completely different compared to how she thought that she was right before they were to, go for a roll in the hay. And he was just completely just mortified when he saw this. If you guys watch that show, you'll know what I'm talking about here. It's funny. He goes on, if your sister came to you and told you that she met a man and it turns out he was wearing a mask and a wig and misrepresented every aspect about himself and she got catfished and really messed up, had a kid with this guy, and he completely lied to her and defrauded her about his entire character and appearance, you go looking for that dude with a baseball bat and grandpa's weapon. Like, no joke. Yeah. And there are a lot of guys that completely cover up who they really are, and that's not cool. But this is what happens to men every day when they interact with a gal. That she lies and misrepresents and mischaracterizes herself on every level. But we just have to come to accept it as normal. So the young gals my son's age who will be looking to get husbands in the next 10 years, they'll be telling the men that they meet they had with 25 or 50 guys before they met. No. Maybe this generation will have a problem with it, or will we just see another generation of gals lying and men walking away because they obviously don't trust the gals and don't want to marry 25-year-old girls who had with 40 guys in the past 5 to 7 years. No, they're not going to want that. And sadly, I think with some 40 guys could be a small number. It's just you're like I've been talking about, you have more guys who're going to say, no, I'm not interested. End of story. And unfortunately, good luck for them trying to find a gal with actually traditional values that wasn't like a lot of the young gals these days. They're out there, don't get me wrong. And the way he's talking about all this misrepresentation and all that stuff, which happens, again, doesn't mean they're all like that, but a lot are. We have a very narcissistic society. And thanks again to social media and the attention that people can get. And again, it isn't just girls. There can be guys that are very narcissistic as well, want attention all the time. Instagram is one of the best examples of that. And just everything's a big show. People can't go anywhere now without having to take pictures of this with themselves in it. It's like if it wasn't posted on social media, that never really happened. Unfortunately, marriage is the great benefit of women, and women are screwing that up for themselves. I've told my son to get through college and go to grad school if you want, and put 10 years into his career, make sure he's got money in the bank and a house, and make sure he's at the height of his youth and intellectual power, and knows what he wants and what his bottom lines are before he even thinks about getting married. Good advice. No guy nowadays should be getting married before they're at least late 20s, if not 30 years old or 30s like you talked about. There's too much to do. There's too much to focus on their career or starting a business or whatever it is that they can do well for themselves to set themselves up for life and accumulate a lot of money and hopefully maybe get a house or a condo or have resources and all that. But you got to be careful, guys, because you have all those things. if you weren't getting attention from the girls when you were younger, you will now because you have those things. And it won't be because of who you are or anything like that, because many gals, they fear that number 30. They fear turning 30 because they're like, oh, they a lot of them know that, oh crap. You know, a lot of gals think that, oh, I'm a loser if I get 30 and I'm not married, which in my opinion, that's just stupid. Okay, but that's the pressure they claim society puts on them, and that is wrong. I agree with that, but no rush. So good for you for giving your son this advice. Okay, there's no rush at all. I seem to have a good bit of influence over my son and his young male friends, and I advise all of them to wait until they're in their early to mid-30s, or better yet, don't do it at all, before they even think about marrying a woman, and to pick a woman who are about 25 years old and who've been raised and trained to behave and do what they are told, and obviously more conservative. Well, again, unfortunately, the more conservative traditional types, they're rare. I think the lasting impact of all this is that there are going to be generations of gals who don't get married or who end up as self-chose single mothers, and a lot of divorces as dumb 25-year-old guys wake up in their 30s and 40s and realize they married a lie and walk away. More and more young men today are increasingly hesitant about and unwilling to get married. And the people who suffer from this most are women. That is the bottom line. This is one of the reasons I think my channel's hated so much, because I talk about these things and bring awareness to guys. So the young guys say, I'm not doing this. Thank you, SSM, for opening my eyes. I'm going to focus, instead of chasing after girls, I'm going to chase after my career and doing well for myself and chasing excellence. Or these guys that are married are starting to like, wait a second, this is happening to that guy. Maybe I need to open my eyes. Holy crap. He starts seeing things don't add up. The next thing he discovers things. And he's like, see ya. Even though I'm going to go through hell, I'm going to get the divorce anyway and start living my life the way I want and stop living a lie. So you can see how I'm hated. But you're going to have a generation out there that, look, you see the numbers. I do the stories that come up, these articles about how more and more the birth rates are declining every year around the world. Less and less people are getting married. They're waiting longer to get married. This is no accident. And from the comments, the emails, the direct messages I get from guys all over the world, because this is all over the world about this, thanking me for what I do and saying I'm going to focus on my career and I'm stop chasing after girls. And the interesting thing is when they tell me, SSM, I've been now focusing on my purpose, my goals, doing well in school, and not putting girls first, and now they keep chasing after me. They can't believe it, because now instead of putting girls as their top priority, they're making the bottom of the barrel. They're improving themselves their top priority, and now the girls are chasing after them. They can't believe it. Doesn't surprise me, but that's how it is. And this is the lasting impact of, in my opinion, a society that has thrown away morality and religion and all expectation about social conduct that we've developed over the past couple thousand years. And have told young gals to go ride the carousel and do whatever they want. And the effects we see socially are staggering amounts of single motherhood, divorce, fatherless households, crime, substance abuse, mental health problems, not to mention poverty, and the disintegration of the social fabric. Dude, I agree with everything you say. But it isn't all, I'm going to be fair here, it isn't all because of the gals. Also, there are plenty of guys that are screwing up too. They're causing problems too. Goes both ways. Got to be. I tell people, everyone has to be accountable for things, but yeah, it's a big freaking mess out there, and a lot of it we all know where it came from. He says, "Total effing." He goes, to finish this up. This is a total effing early morning rambling. Hope you're doing well. I know you get inundated with emails, but you always get me thinking, brother. Respectfully, Patrick. Well, Patrick, it's good to hear from you. I appreciate this update and letting me know and letting us know how things are with your son and what he's seeing going on with his demographic in that age range. Because I know I got a lot of young guys in college following me, and they share some stories. But I'm sure a lot of this doesn't surprise you, but at the same time is a little baffling how things are nowadays. Even from a former chatter Tyrone like yourself. I'm sure you still find it quite interesting. And your perspective on how things are nowadays is dead on. And also, when you said you have friends that are coaches and what they've observed and all that, it's a mess. But this is today's world, guys. Got to talk about it, because you're not going to hear this information on CNN or Fox News or any other place. This is a taboo subject. But so this is why I do what I do. I want to help guys out, bring awareness, my small little contribution to the world until somebody takes me out. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, if you have a great story you'd like to share, whatever happens to be with your life relating to this channel, email me. As I said before, I don't care if it happened last week or it happened 25 years ago. If it's good and it will help guys out, email it to me. Just make sure it's written well. And also, guys, if you're on social media, on Instagram or Locals, check me out, Strong Successful Male. And also, guys, if it's a long day, I forgot what I was going to say. Here come the sirens. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.